First off, I want to say thank you for joining me and welcome to my channel. My name is Chantel, and today I'm hosting a lovely lady named April who was willing to share her story of hearing loss and what she has done with that knowledge and how she has handled it. So I am going to let her, hello, April.
Hi.
Feel free to introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about who you are.
Yeah. So I live in Ontario, Canada, and I began to lose my hearing in 2016 when I was 25 years old. I was having issues. I noticed when I was laying on my right side that I couldn't hear very well, but hearing loss was not on my mind. I did not think I had hearing loss. I honestly just thought I needed to clean my ear or I had water in my ear. And a few months passed, and I was like, I still am having trouble hearing. Went to my family doctor because I didn't know about audiologists at the time. She referred me to an ENT because she was like, "Yeah, you know what? I see something going on in your ear." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then sure enough, at that next appointment where I met an ENT, he told me that I had otosclerosis and would need a hearing aid. So my hearing loss started on my left side, and now I have it on both sides. So I wear hearing aids in both ears. It's moderate to severe, and it has been a journey for sure, a hearing loss journey. So it's it's been a lot, but I'm here now. And in 2020, when the mask started to happen, is kind of really when I started sharing more about my hearing loss journey publicly. And yeah, now I have a channel called Hard to Hear It, where I help other people embrace their hearing loss because getting a diagnosis at any age, whether you're born with it in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 60 plus, it's a lot. And so I'm here to help other people just know that it's okay and know that they're not alone. And if they don't have a support system, I will be that for them.
That is an amazing story because you are so young to actually have that happen to you. When you first were told that, I'm sure you were curious, was that a genetic disposition or like how has that come on?
So it can be genetic. And when I was diagnosed with it, we asked everyone in the family, both sides, mom's, dad's side. No one else has it that we know of. Um, so for me, I don't believe it is genetic. The next question the ENT asked me though was if I'd ever been pregnant, because pregnancy can make otosclerosis happen in women, but I had never been pregnant at that point in my life. And it was very strange. And so it can be progressive or it can happen like overnight. I think mine happened relatively sudden and then it started progressively get worse because I started off as mild hearing loss and now I'm moderate to severe. And so, yeah, it's an abnormal bone growth in the middle ear. And there is a surgery that you can do to correct it to some degree, but there's a lot of risks with that. And I'm comfortable with my hearing aids. I like how they work for me. So surgery is not on the table right now, but that is an option should it get worse.
What was it like socially to be losing your hearing?
So when I was first diagnosed, it was because it was only in one ear. It was very easy for me to fake it and get through a lot of things. I had just started dating my husband at the time. I think we were together 5 months when I got that diagnosis. So I was very concerned about his reaction, but he's honestly been my biggest supporter. Um, and it was a lot. And I was worried telling people because, like you said, like I was 25 and it was a lot, but I was really stubborn to wear my hearing aid in the first year or two. And so I didn't really feel the need like that I had to tell people. And
Sure. Yeah.
because it was only in the one side, I could cover it and I wasn't super self-conscious. But then it got to a point where I had to wear it. Like there was no other option. I felt very self-conscious about not hearing. So I needed to wear that hearing aid. And then fall of 2019, I think it was fall of 2019 or it was early 2020, I started noticing like, oh, my other ear is starting to like something's happened with my good side. And so I went back to at the time the only audiology clinic that was open because everything at that point had shut down because of COVID. So I
Yeah.
went to a completely different audiologist than who I had initially seen because they were closed. And I was like, I think my ear's getting worse. Like I think this ear's getting worse, but this ear's caught up now. And he's like, yep, you have otosclerosis on your other side now. And I was like, ah, easier to handle because I had already been dealing with it, but Socially, I have found myself less social. But I also think that's just come with age. Like I have a daughter now, we're a young family. I think, progressing through life, that's just one of those things that I probably would have naturally become less social as well. Think it's funny because I was 25 and I really didn't do that much research, to be honest,
Hmm,
because I was in denial.
sure.
I could not accept that I had hearing loss, even though I had a hearing aid. Like I had it. I was like, oh no, what? I don't have hearing loss. It's fine. I can still hear. It's okay. And I think because of that, it hurt me in some ways because I should have worn that hearing aid from day one when I got it, because it would have just been so much easier to get used to than wearing it when I needed it. Um, but like I always needed it. And so those first 2 years, I was in denial. And I think that prevented me from wanting to do any type of research. But then when I started to lose my hearing on the other side, I was like, I joined some support groups for otosclerosis specifically. And in that, I learned quite a lot about the stapenectomy surgery and like connections with tinnitus and all of these other things. And it's very overwhelming. While knowledge is power, there's only so much I want to consume in a certain period of time. And so I wouldn't say I went like in a deep dive, but I've slowly began to kind of digest little bits of information enough that I can consume and not feel like overwhelmed and anxious about what's going on.
Groups like an underlining theme of like you all happen to have some shared connection, or is it like a circumstance or anything that you've noticed, or is
One connection I noticed, and I can't say it's for everyone, but TMJ and otosclerosis. So there was a few people because I had that and I was searching, I was like,
me
oh, and there's a
too?
bunch of people like I have that too, and I have otosclerosis. And I was like, interesting. That's an interesting
That
connection.
is
So
interesting.
I mean, I haven't done too much more into that. The
Yeah,
next time I go
yeah.
see my ENT, I might ask her. But yeah, it's one of those things because people who have it genetically, well, it's genetic, so it's there. And then other people, some people got it from pregnancy, and it's just yeah, it's one of those ones that's can happen for different reasons.
I know somebody who has lost their hearing in one ear, and it was because of her pregnancies, and I don't recall what type of hearing loss it is.
Right.
Um, I think it's affected mostly like 98% of one ear and like just a touch in one other side. Uh, I'm gonna have to follow up with her and find out like what
Yeah.
she was told about that. But what do you mind sharing? And this sounds only a hearing aid person would ask this. So what type of hearing aids are you wearing, or what brands, or do you like? How does it
Yeah.
work in Canada?
So the first one I had, because I only had one side, was a phonak. Um, and because I had the one side, I got a battery powered one. And then when my other side cut up and I needed to get another one, of course, this brand was like this style wasn't available anymore. So I wanted them to match, which,
Hmm.
makes sense. So now I wear Starkey.
Oh,
Um, and here in Canada, we get very little help from the government. You get about $500 per hearing aid. But through my channel, I've been very blessed to get to work with Starkey and actually like get to test some of their new products, which is really, really cool. And I've also been able to
wonderful.
test another brand called Belltone. So I'm like, I never expected starting my channel for that to happen, but I'm very, very blessed to get to do that and to test them out and, get some free swag out of it. So it's really, really cool. But that
Isn't
was
that
never
funny that only hearing aid people or hearing impaired people would be like super excited about getting, sponsored by a hearing aid brand?
yeah,
But it's
it's
huge.
yeah,
Yes.
and honestly, I'm grateful that they reached out to me because I'm like, well, you guys market to like 60 plus. So I'm surprised that you wanted someone in their 30s, but I'm really happy you did because now people my age will see, hey, this brand, wants to work with younger people. And so it's really awesome. And all of my experiences with these every brand I've been in contact with has been wonderful. They've all been really awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How now you mentioned to me, or maybe when we were first connecting, you
Yeah.
mentioned you wrote a book, or you
Yeah, I
you
wrote a
you did some
children's
other
book.
things. Yeah, so tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's funnily enough, my children's book called What's Your Superpower, which is available on Amazon, was initially what started me to share my advocacy journey. When the world was shut down, I was bored out of my mind. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a passion project. I'm going to start a children's book. I'm just going to do it. And I wrote it, I found an illustrator, and within like a 4 to 5 month period, had it ready and I got it printed and I launched it. And this was in September 2020 that I published it. And a year later, I decided to start an Instagram channel and a YouTube channel to just talk about my journey because I found a lot of power in talking about it. And I selfishly started the channel. It was really for myself, just to prove to the world that I was okay with my hearing loss and my hearing aids because it's a lot. It's one of those things that until you get hearing loss and you have hearing aids, it's a lot to process because it's one of those things you don't really expect to happen, and it really makes you feel disconnected from the world. And so a year after I launched my children's book, I started Hard to Hear It. And it's just been sharing my journey and ups and downs. And I've created a bunch of tools and resources of things that I have found helpful and books that I've found helpful and products that I have found helpful. And I've just compiled it into my website, which is hardtohear.com. And I have a couple other digital products you can buy as well. But the children's book is really what started my, I guess, announcement to the world that
Odyssey.
I'm hearing loss.
Yes, yes, yes. I totally get that. Actually, when I first started doing these YouTube videos, I just started like a few years ago, and I was kind of like, and it was kind of like me tiptoeing into acknowledging the fact that I have hearing aids, because like you and I both have long hair. We do have that luxury of like hiding, all of a sudden camouflaging if we want. And even I was actually out with some friends from high school who I hadn't seen in years. One of my old classmates, he was over here like kind of making fun of me, and I didn't hear him. And he's like, I said, well, I have hearing aids. And he said, what? Like, oh, like didn't know.
That's usually people's reaction, right?
So it's really, in some ways, I think, I don't know how you felt about this, but kind of like empowering to feel that you can use it for something other than a disability. Not that it is like, I don't think of it as like a really hardcore disability, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, totally know what you mean. Yeah. I was actually talking to my husband about this yesterday, how I feel like this identity crisis because without my hearing aids, I'm deaf. Like I can hear very little. I can hear little bits of things, but I feel very much deaf. But with my hearing aids in, I don't feel like I have hearing loss most of the time. They work most of the time. It is technology. But it's a very weird like identity crisis. Like, well, do I call myself this because I resonate with that when I'm not wearing my device? But like it pulls me both ways because it's this weird sensation. I don't know. With my hearing aids in, I feel back to how I was almost before I had my hearing loss, but taking them out, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't hear.
But it's like eye-opening when that happens, because you really do realize, like, okay, I could not function without my hearing aids. That's interesting. What advice would you give to somebody then in a similar predicament, like going through this at a younger age or with a young family or dating or, you know,
I honestly think the biggest thing is to take it one day at a time because when you first get hearing aids, it's so overwhelming. Like there's all these new sounds that you forgot about because you didn't realize you were missing them potentially, right? And it's just do your best to wear your hearing aids as often and as long as you can because it does get so much easier. But also remember to take hearing breaks. Like make sure you're allowing yourself to just adjust. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, that sounds like obvious advice, but when you put those, at least for me, and again, when I talk about things, I'm really only speaking from my experience. When I put my hearing aid for the first time, I was like, ew. Like I was like, like no, that's not what like I remember things sounding like, or like that's way too loud, or it was just very overwhelming. And I think that's probably why the first years I didn't want to wear my hearing aid because I was just like, no, that's not how things should sound to me. Um, but yeah, just take it one day at a time and find a support person, whether it's someone who has hearing loss or someone you just feel comfortable talking to with, because it's very isolating. And I think that's one thing people don't realize who don't have hearing loss, because even if I'm in a crowded room, sometimes I can feel very alone because there's just too many conversations going on or too many sounds. And I'm like, "Ugh," and I just shut down. I just,
I feel there's, in certain situations, I remember before I got my hearing aids, I would fake, like when we were talking about faking it, and I would realize, especially in my work meetings, that I was saying my answers to their, I could see in their face that I completely heard the question wrong. And I felt like such an idiot.
mm,
And it wasn't at that time something I wanted to share that I couldn't hear them. It was
yeah.
just me trying to, you know, bluff my way through things. And I could tell the energy in the room was kind of like, well, what is she talking about? And it's so disheartening to go through that. And then when you get your hearing aids, it's not like, and I'm sure you can understand this because you were just saying, it's technology. I still have people surprised when I have to ask them to repeat themselves, even when I have my hearing aids, and they're like, "Oh, are those not working?" And like, it's not like God came down and cured my ears overnight, or like it's
Right? That's the
so.
biggest misconception is hearing aids are not a cure. And like, even though I was saying like with my hearing aids in, I feel like back to normal. What I mean by that is like, I can still hear more things, right? So there's a lot of things that I don't feel like I have hearing loss because I'm hearing a lot of things. But yeah, hearing aids are not a cure, and I think that's one of the biggest things with the hearing health world is the lack of education around it for people because you don't look any different when you get a hearing aid, right? So people just don't seem to connect the dots. Like they just, well, you look the same. So what do you mean? Like I don't, it
Yeah,
doesn't click for them. But if you got glasses or you had a
yeah.
different assistive device, people would be able to connect those dots a little easier.
I gotta tell you, it's so fun to talk to somebody who's had their hearing aids. Because let's see, how long have you had them now?
Almost 10 years.
So we pretty much got ours around the same time. I've had mine 12 now. I
Okay.
mean, and we've had them for that same amount of time. So you've kind of gone through the same, I don't want to say metamorphosis, but like kind of understanding of the progression of getting used to them and yeah, being in social settings and helping others or like, in my last video it was my good friend Ginny who new to hearing aids. And so it's so interesting having been through it, but 10 years out from it, removed. There's things she's going through that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember having a problem. And there's still stuff that happens. So how are your kids with it? I mean,
So I
how
have
is
one
it?
daughter and she's
Oh,
3 years old. Um, and I was thinking about this the other day, like I've only ever been a mom with hearing loss, so that I don't know parenting any other way. And my daughter is so cute. She always tells me, "Mommy, I love your hearing aids." And I'm just like, "Thank you." And I have
oh,
like hearing aid artwork and stuff around, and I have this really cool hearing aid neon sign. So she's around that all the time, and I always tell her like, "Mommy doesn't have her ears in, so I can't hear you." And she'll like go like she'll point to where my hearing aids are. I'd be like, "Well, go get them." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice." Like she's gonna have a really fun, different experience growing up, and hopefully it raises her very compassionately and an understanding of, differences. And that's the thing with my children's book, because we read it often. Um, it's creating those conversations around people with assistive devices, and it's okay, and that we're all unique in our own way. I mean, she's great. She's only 3, so she's learning the world.
remind us, like, what is the name of the children's book again?
Yeah, it's What's Your Superpower? It's also kind of shared throughout my Instagram, and it's linked on my website as well.
I'll add all those links below of this video. So if anybody wants to find the book or YouTube channel, Instagram,
Thank
website,
you.
any of the tools that April has, I mean, obviously she's done a lot of legwork, but I feel like nowadays a lot of younger people are going to be going through hearing loss, and it's nice that somebody like you has opened their arms to helping others in this way because it's
Yeah,
just very
I
special.
appreciate that. That was like
Yeah.
another reason, honestly, I started my channel is when I seeked out, community, it was an older generation, which is still great and still very useful, but it didn't feel as connected as I wanted to be. And so that was another reason why, like, you know what, I'm just gonna put myself out there and go with it. And yeah, I'm very blessed to what it's become. Never knew what was gonna happen.
Well, that's awesome. I will say it's interesting that you're in Canada because I was curious how that worked. For some reason, I just thought they must just kill them out left and right, like,
No, I
down
know our
here.
free healthcare sounds nice, but it's really not as great as it seems.
It's interesting to compare notes between the two countries, the neighbors.
Totally. We get $500 per hearing aid every 5 or 6 years,
Hmm,
something like that. So
I guess that's
it's better than
something.
nothing, but when you look at the cost of hearing aids, it's really not much. And most people, the sad thing is most people can't afford them, so they don't get the help that they need, which absolutely devastating, I
Is
think.
there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I'm just really grateful that you had me on. This is so fun. And I'll have to have you on my YouTube because I like to talk to people with hearing loss as well. So you can
Oh, I
tell me
would
your
love
story
that.
on an episode on me. Yeah.
I would love that. Yes, definitely.
Oh,
And for
fun.
those of you joining, again, I'll leave the links to April's channel and all of her details below. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and or give it a thumbs up. And again, I hope you return to the channel when we have other great information and visit April's channel as well. But thank you so much for all of your time today.
Thank you.
That's really so sweet. I hope you have a lovely hearing experience going forward. I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.